Interview questions. Can you tell us about your upbringing and how it has shaped the themes in your music? My upbringing is one of adversity, with real scars. I shed some real blood and tears, like everyone else, witnessed real people come and go graphically in ways not viewable in most news outlet. You know, we had cockroaches in cereals, flies in the summertime, rats to chase out with traps. We added water to empty ketchup bottles, cut toothpaste in half just to get the rest of it inside, out, all the inside out. When tissue ran out, we just cut shirts in half. The old shirts we had, we would cut it in half and use that instead. And when it was winter and the lights would go off, we just turn on the stove to warm up the house. Then there was the whips, the chains, and the tying up by the pole attached to the living room so I wouldn't go out. My brother was chained up to weights, and he still would go to the corner carrying weights. People would laugh. Then I would have to sleep with like 4 sweatpants and sweatshirts just to alleviate the pain from when my parents would come sneak up on me with a broomstick. I had to adapt and sleep under the bed to make it harder for them. The endless times of going to the streets just to look on the ground, looking for something, scrutinizing garbage cans in the inside just to see if I could find something to eat. Sometimes I would find money. And there was the witnessing of families fall apart, including my own, to a phase where everyone is to themselves, leading people like me to travel and live on the streets next to many others who are homeless, considered deadbeat. And the lifestyle that it carries, being in those conditions, weren't easy. Shit, mom and pops never had money for shit when it came to giving me some money and shit. I would go to the streets and resort to stealing, looking for ways to make a quick buck. Before the advent of smartphones, I stole at times just to chip in for alcohol so my friends wouldn't be like, I didn't chip in or I was the only one that didn't have money. I was naturally ignorant, who went many times to jail, even as a juvenile. One time I stole a car and sold it the same day, and with the cash bought me a pair of Timbs, just so I wouldn't have the funky ones that I was wearing. I would go to bars, have sticky fingers, looking to steal from the register. When the bartender was distracted, I would grab a bunch of bottles. As far as how it shaped the themes in my music, well, most of the tracks were written while I was doing time in prison, California. And for that short amount of time while I was in there, I was filled with anger due to the injustice and level of racism that existed. And the discrimination I was experiencing for the first time was influencing me to write in a way to relay the ordeal back to the forces designed to cripple my growth. And in doing so, I would force their whole structure of belief system to collapse overnight, changing their whole system with resentment. See, my smite became my weapon, and I was going for the jugular, the establishment, the judges, the politicians, media outlets, government, the whole nine. And so, all my albums done this year revolve around that sentiment. What experience have had the most profound impact on your artistry? Me going to jail in different states and countries, me having a daughter and becoming a father for the first time, and of course the scriptures and meditation, to which without I don't think I'd be here, Who are some of the artists or figures that have influenced your style and approach? Pops, Fidel Castro, Bruce Lee, Bolo Young, Sylvester with Rocky, Tyson, Rakim, LL, Ryan Reynolds, and of course Lord 13, the most important of all. Your lyrics often reflect a deep sense of struggle and resilience. Where does that come from? I call him Lord 13, the spirit that I have, which makes me hunger with a passion. I think I'm starving and famished like a wild animal. The possibility that is out there, and the masses kept away, far away from it, drives me to expose it. Because I should have it too, and I don't, which drives me mad. The lies told to keep people perishing like dust without a story of their own. The hospitals participating in genocide over technicalities or who has the better coverage. The cures that they don't use because it doesn't profit them. the behaviors we succumb to because we accept what they tell us, ultimately leading to our demise. I mean, I think I'm divine, and as such, I think of a world where a hero resides. And such a place, there is no holding him back, unlike the current state that likes to hinder and obstruct the natural forces of universal laws, Now, getting into the artistic process. How do you approach the songwriting process? Do you have a specific ritual or environment that inspires your creativity? I don't approach it. It approaches me. And when it does, it comes from a very elevated state. Even without things like weed, it makes its way to me. Like I said, most of those tracks in my albums, I wrote while I was in prison. And in many cases, most of the times, I didn't have access to things like drugs, phones, paper, pencil, etc. So they were all, like from a place of sobriety, I was in the worst conditions one could imagine. But somehow I was able to write my thoughts down when I had the chance and preserve my original thoughts, digitize it, and got rid of the paper. I mean, I was in places, I was in a hole, or they call it the shoe. Sometimes they would put me in a cell where the toilet didn't work and it was clogged up with, urine, feces, all kinds of, and I'm sleeping like next to it. And then on top of that, I got to use it sometimes too. And it's like, that was the way of punishing me, and it was hard to get a pencil. I would have to look for a tip. And so, these were times like that I would probably influence on writing things down, and that's how I would write it. But what I've learned from my own habits is that when I was down, I worked hard to focus and keep my mind frame in thinking that everything was going to work out. And when I was up, I always thought of the times when I was down, so that I will never go back to those conditions, Through the oscillations of the ups and downs, I would grip on the things that matter, quickly switch and look for ways to translate that to matter. I didn't mean to rhyme, but that's how it came out. Because that's what gathers. Anyway, the summary should be enough for a concept. That process is what should be let loose and not be interrupted at all. Just let them cook, as they say. And sure enough, you'll have another one to pile on the long list that'll probably never be heard. But still, you'll drop it. Because, you're surrounded by a living legend. In the flesh. Should be at all. Many of your tracks have raw, unfiltered energy. How do you balance your vulnerability with artistic expressions? First of all, if there are vulnerabilities, I don't acknowledge them. But this doesn't happen right away. I started practicing on my own when I was alone, that I wasn't alone. And in fact, everyone was tuning in like the CIA does to mob organizations. So I just started not to give a F about who was watching or tuning in and would react either way. But as time went by, this practice was refined, and I would make sure that my overall essence of a character did not become demoralized, Going as far as masturbating a few times in places I shouldn't have, just to show the critics that I don't give a fuck. Plus, I knew I hit a new record as far as being spiritual, and what chakras were activated, transforming the whole atmosphere and environment to a whole new level never seen before. Just keep practicing, refining your own ego nature, and you'll find that even your opposites will work with you and stay the course needed. This usually keeps you balanced 24/7. What's your next question? Do you see your music as a form of therapy or self-exploration? Both. Many of my earlier works still to this day remind me of how powerful I am. And who doesn't want to be reminded that they're great at times they're feeling low? My music does that, like scripture does to religion. Your lyrics often convey a battle between light and darkness. How do you channel these dualities in your work? I pace. Look at myself without a shirt in the mirror. I start to work out and listen to instrumental beats. And if you're trying to reach, smoke weed at times, but I could do it without it. I could do it without his peak, just something to keep me intrigued, you know? Now, getting back to the personal beliefs and philosophy. You mentioned divine spiritual themes in your music. How do your beliefs influence your art? My beliefs influence my art in every way, because the world is all about beliefs, or those without it. And who is winning? The ones with faith or the ones that know? Notice how I word it, not only how I say it. You'll find it all relative, edible, a sedative used for purpose medical, interpreted for the user sensible. Without each of the forces working together, it can't be. How do you reconcile the darker elements of your music with your spiritual belief? Those who are sick will get fixed. If what I did made you fail, quit, or die, then you weren't ready for life. And I did you a favor to start again the right way in your new life. Because death is only the beginning. If you're wise, you would rise from the dead and breathe the air that I share. I got nothing to hide and everything to show, my Lord, that I am capable of more. And I'm good with how that looks in my world, not yours or theirs, including those that might have failed because of my upbringing. I'm okay with how that feels, but making it better. You've spoken about societal issues and personal struggles in your lyrics. How important is it for you to address these topics through your music? Very important, enough to start a civil war if one has to. I'm not just a patriot, I'm created by Zog, my creator, and nothing could stop my message. Your music speaks of transformation and growth. What does personal evolution mean to you? It is the only way for the next generation to push the limits of their minds and show their true capabilities and abilities, because what you see ain't even half the truth, and that's due to the lack of will. Now, navigating the industry. How have your experience in life shaped the ways you navigate the music industry? Made me resort to becoming more creative by adapting with the new tech and outsourcing the middleman with just person A and person B by using social media, podcasts, websites, apps that have cool functions, online stores, along with a few other things that I would incorporate to make it easier for me, like a POS, a card reader to accept major credit cards, including crypto and cash. What challenges have you faced as an artist with such unique perspective and style? How the gatekeepers of major corporations and companies keep real talented people unseen by their continuous practice of acclimating the artist to a group of people that don't have the best interests of the people. And many times this accepted customs has shut me down before I even started. But this is the norm in today's society, so I just adapt with a fighting spirit looking for the win, you know? Do you find it difficult to stay true to your message in an industry that often prioritizes commercial success? I find it difficult. Nope. I am who I am. If you don't like it, oh well, not my problem. Keep it pushing. Keep it pushing to the people that matter, you know? How do you deal with criticism or misunderstanding of your work? I don't. They weren't there in any of my endeavors. To try to pinpoint a genius mind who aligns with the infinite is useless. I wouldn't be here if I put much thought about their existence, you know? They're not real people that were seeing or doing the things that I've done. Future directions. What message do you hope listeners take away from your music? That to make it, you have to create it and go after it yourself without the help of no one. And also that you have to express yourself. That you have to use the First Amendment. That you have to have a voice. That you have to discover your voice and express yourself. Where do you see your music evolving in the future? Are there any new themes or styles you want to explore? Well, I see it turning into a movie. And yes, many more. People are now accepting the infinite alternate timeline possibilities, because of the Marvel and DC movies. And some of the tech we have now was first seen in a movie as a science fiction. So I'll let you tell it. How do you balance the need for personal expression with the desire to connect with your audience? By pleasing my spirit to the ways it leads me and visualizing the audience better than me? That usually does it. What legacy do you hope to leave through your music? That legends are real, and even your creator will appear before you to let you know that you're the deal.